Please like and subscribe to the channel if you find this video interesting and useful. Give me more ideas you want me to make. Enjoy watching the video. The gentle hum of the dishwasher provided a monotonous soundtrack to Linda Parker's life. At 38, Linda was a master of the domestic arts, a queen reigning over a kingdom of laundry piles, overflowing toy baskets, and perpetually sticky kitchen counters in her cozy suburban Seattle home. Her mornings began not with the gentle caress of dawn, but with the cacophony of an alarm clock and the urgent demands of two young children. Toast needed to be buttered, shoes located, backpacks filled, and arguments over who got the blue crayon arbitrated before 7:30 a.m. even thought of rolling around. Linda moved through it all with the efficiency of a seasoned general, her movements precise, her thoughts often a tangled mess of to-do lists. Her once vibrant blonde hair, now perpetually pulled back in a hurried ponytail, had lost some of its luster, much like the spark in her own eyes. She loved her family fiercely, her quiet, steadfast husband Jack, and her energetic, endlessly curious children, 8-year-old Lily and 5-year-old Tom. But somewhere amidst the endless cycle of cooking, cleaning, and carpooling, Linda Parker had ceased to be Linda Parker. She was Mom, honey Mrs. Parker, never just Linda. The woman who once dreamed of opening a charming little bakery, whose hands yearned to sculpt clay, was now an expert in stain removal and negotiating bedtimes. No one seemed to notice the faint lines of fatigue etched around her eyes, the way her shoulders sometimes slumped just a little too much, or the quiet sigh that escaped her lips when the house finally fell silent at night. One Tuesday afternoon, with the faint scent of stale Cheerios lingering in the air and a half-finished load of laundry waiting patiently in the machine, Linda finally collapsed onto the sofa. The kids were at school, and for a precious hour, the house was hers. She picked up the remote, flipping through channels until she landed on a daytime talk show. And there she was, Sienna Rose. A vision in emerald green, her dark hair a cascade of perfectly styled waves, her smile radiant, almost impossibly bright. Sienna was 27, a bona fide Hollywood starlet, dazzling and captivating, effortlessly commanding the stage. The host gushed about her latest blockbuster, her upcoming fashion line, her philanthropic endeavors. Linda watched, a strange mixture of admiration and something akin to a dull ache settling in her chest. Sienna's laughter echoed through the quiet living room, a stark contrast to Linda's own muted existence. The paparazzi clamored for her attention, designers vied to dress her, and her name was on everyone's lips. "Must be nice," Linda murmured to the empty room, a faint, almost imperceptible tremor in her voice. Just one day. To be that person. To not have to worry about burnt toast or forgotten permission slips. She closed her eyes for a moment, picturing herself gliding onto that stage, feeling the warmth of the spotlight, the thrill of being truly seen, truly celebrated. The thought was fleeting, almost a fantasy too outlandish to entertain, but it lingered, a quiet, desperate wish whispered into the suburban ether. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away in the glittering heart of Los Angeles, Sienna Rose sat in her opulent, minimalist chic dressing room. The air was thick with the scent of expensive hairspray and freshly brewed espresso. Her personal assistant buzzed around her, adjusting a stray earring, offering a fresh bottle of artisanal water. Sienna, despite the flawless makeup and designer gown, felt a weariness that permeated her very bones. Her schedule was a relentless, unforgiving beast. 5 a.m. call times, interviews that bled into photo shoots, red carpet events that demanded a fixed, dazzling smile for hours on end. Every movement, every word, every outfit was scrutinized, judged, and dissected by millions. The pressure to be perfect, to always be on, was suffocating. She had just wrapped a 14-hour shoot, and the prospect of another late-night charity gala loomed. "Just 5 minutes of silence, please, Chloe," Sienna said, her voice softer than it appeared on screen, betraying a hint of exhaustion. Chloe, ever efficient, nodded and discreetly exited, leaving Sienna alone with her reflection. She stared at the woman in the mirror, a woman who had it all, and yet felt so empty. I just wish, Sienna whispered to her reflection, a solitary tear tracing a path through her perfect makeup. I just wish I could have one day where no one knew my name. One day where I could just be. Where I didn't have to worry about my diet, or my public image, or saying the right thing. Just one day to be utterly, wonderfully insignificant. The irony wasn't lost on her. Millions yearned for her life, and she, in turn, yearned for theirs. She envied the anonymity, the simple joys, the freedom from constant surveillance. To cook a meal without a nutritionist scrutinizing the ingredients, to walk into a grocery store without being hounded by paparazzi, to simply exist without the weight of an entire industry on her shoulders. She wanted to feel the warmth of genuine, uncomplicated connection, something beyond the superficial adulation of fans and the calculated smiles of industry colleagues. The thought, a rebellious whisper in her perfectly manicured mind, blossomed into a silent, desperate plea. Just one day, she echoed Linda's earlier thought, to know what it feels like on the other side. That very night, as the moon cast its pale glow over the world, an extraordinary celestial event unfolded. A shower of iridescent meteors, rarely seen with such vivid intensity, streaked across the night sky. In Seattle, Linda, tucked into bed beside Jack, stirred as a brilliant emerald flash illuminated her bedroom window. She blinked sleepily, dismissed it as a dream, and drifted back to sleep, her wish hanging unspoken in the universe. Simultaneously, on the sprawling balcony of Sienna's Hollywood Hills penthouse, Sienna watched the same spectacular display. The emerald light seemed to engulf her for a fleeting moment, a silent, profound energy washing over her. She felt a strange tingling sensation, a momentary disorientation, before the cosmic ballet faded, leaving her with a sense of wonder and a lingering, inexplicable premonition. The universe, it seemed, had been listening to the quiet desires of two very different women, preparing to grant their seemingly impossible wishes. The next morning, the world tilted on its axis for both Linda and Sienna. In Seattle, the sun rose, bright and uncompromising, just as it always did. In Los Angeles, the city began its daily grind, oblivious to the monumental shift that had just occurred. A cosmic switch had been flipped, weaving together the destinies of a suburban mom and a Hollywood icon. The consequences of their silent wishes, amplified by the mystical meteor shower, were about to unleash a cascade of chaos, confusion, and, ultimately, a profound journey of self-discovery that neither woman could have ever anticipated. The stage was set, the spotlights were primed, and two lives, irrevocably intertwined, were about to begin their most unexpected act. The first thing Linda registered was the overwhelming softness of the bed. Not the familiar, slightly lumpy mattress she shared with Jack, but something exquisitely plush, a cloud of silk sheets and down pillows. Then came the light, a flood of golden California sunshine pouring through expansive, floor-to-ceiling windows. Linda's eyes fluttered open, slowly taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. A vast, minimalist bedroom, all sleek lines and muted tones, with an unobstructed view of the glittering Los Angeles skyline. This was definitely not her beige-walled, crayon-marked sanctuary in Seattle. Panic, cold and sharp, began to prickle at the edges of her consciousness. She bolted upright, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Jack," she called out, her voice raspy with sleep and confusion. No answer. Only the hushed, almost reverent silence of an expensive, empty space. She stumbled out of bed, her feet sinking into a thick, luxurious rug. A full-length mirror, artfully integrated into the wall, caught her reflection. Linda gasped, a choked, disbelieving sound. Staring back at her was not her own tired, familiar face, but the stunning, perfectly sculpted features of Sienna Rose. The high cheekbones, the full lips, the impossibly long lashes framing eyes that were a vibrant, sparkling green. Her hair, a dark, glossy wave, cascaded over bare shoulders. Her body, lean and toned, was encased in a delicate silk camisole and shorts, a far cry from her usual flannel pajamas. "No," she whispered, shaking her head vigorously, as if to dislodge a bad dream. No, this can't be real. This is a dream. A very, very vivid dream. She pinched herself hard. The pain was sharp, undeniable. She slapped her cheeks, splashed cold water from an impossibly sleek faucet onto her face. Nothing changed. Sienna Rose's striking reflection continued to stare back at her, a mask of growing terror on its beautiful features. The penthouse was silent, save for Linda's increasingly frantic breathing. The reality of the situation, bizarre and terrifying as it was, began to settle in her stomach like a lead weight. She was in Sienna Rose's body, in Sienna Rose's luxurious life, and she had no idea how or why. 3,000 miles away, in the quiet, tree-lined suburbs of Seattle, Sienna Rose's own morning was unfolding with an equally jarring dose of reality. Her eyes snapped open, not to the muted elegance of her own bedroom, but to a chaotic explosion of color and clutter. A worn Winnie the Pooh blanket was tangled around her legs. A half-eaten lollipop stuck to the bedside table. On the wall opposite, a hand-drawn picture of a purple dinosaur stared down at her. What in the? Sienna mumbled, her voice surprisingly unfamiliar, a little softer, a little less polished than her own. She sat up, her head swimming. The room smelled faintly of toast and something vaguely floral, not the crisp, clean scent of her own home. She looked down at her hands. They were smaller, a little softer, with slightly chipped nail polish, definitely not her perfectly manicured, artistic hands. With a jolt, she swung her legs out of bed. Her feet hit a cold wooden floor, littered with a stray Lego brick and a discarded Barbie doll. She stumbled into the adjacent bathroom, her heart rate accelerating with every step. The mirror above the sink revealed a face that made her gasp. Linda Parker. The woman she'd seen on TV, the one she'd envied for her seemingly simple, anonymous life. This face, with its faint laugh lines around the eyes and a slightly rumpled, wholesome charm, was undeniably Linda's. Her blonde hair was in a messy, sleep-induced knot, and she was wearing a faded cotton t-shirt and pajama bottoms. Sienna screamed. A high-pitched, genuine shriek of pure terror and disbelief that instantly brought a cacophony of small, pattering feet and worried voices to the bedroom door. "Mommy? Are you okay?" A little girl's voice, followed by a little boy's, equally concerned. Sienna froze, her heart leaping into her throat. Mommy? Oh God. This was Linda's life. And those were Linda's children. The door creaked open and two small faces, Lily and Tom, peeked in, their eyes wide with worry. "Mommy, why are you screaming?" Lily asked, clutching a stuffed rabbit. Tom, ever the practical one, added, "Did you see a spider?" Sienna, still reeling, could only shake her head, trying to process the impossible. "No, sweetie, I just had a bad dream," she stammered, her voice sounding foreign, even to her own ears. The kids looked at her strangely, then at each other, sensing something was off. Both women spent the next hour in a disoriented, panicked haze. Linda, in Sienna's body, frantically searched the penthouse for any explanation, any sign of a hidden camera, a prank, anything that could make sense of this absurd situation. She tried to convince herself it was an elaborate dream, a stress-induced hallucination, but every detail was too sharp, too real. The exquisite silk dress laid out on a valet stand, the dizzying array of expensive shoes in the walk-in closet, the unfamiliar faces of staff who started to appear at the penthouse door, calling her Miss Rose. Suddenly, a crisp, efficient voice broke through her panic. "Sienna? Chloe here. The car's waiting for the Vogue shoot. You're already 15 minutes behind schedule." Linda almost dropped the phone she'd been fiddling with. Chloe, Sienna's assistant. Oh God. She had to pretend to be Sienna. She fumbled with a response, her mind racing. Yes, Chloe. Just 5 more minutes. Feeling a little under the weather." Chloe's voice was instantly concerned, but professionally so. "Are you all right, Sienna? You sound a little different today." Linda's heart pounded. She cleared her throat, trying to mimic what she imagined Sienna's confident, slightly husky voice would sound like. "Just tired, darling. Long night." Chloe seemed to accept it, albeit with a hint of lingering doubt. Linda hung up, her hands trembling. She was Sienna Rose, and she had a Vogue shoot. What in the world was Vogue? Meanwhile, Sienna, in Linda's body, was facing her own suburban nightmare. Lily and Tom, bless their innocent hearts, were an endless source of confusion. "Mommy, are you going to make the special pancakes today?" Tom asked, tugging on her shirt. "And my hair needs to be in pigtails, not a ponytail," Lily added, holding up a hairbrush. Sienna stared blankly at them. Pancakes? Pigtails? She had no idea how to do either. She tried to find something, anything, in the cluttered kitchen, but every cupboard seemed to hold mysteries. The smell of something faintly burning filled the air. She'd put toast in the toaster and completely forgotten about it. The smoke alarm blared, adding to the chaotic symphony of children's complaints and her own internal panic. "Mommy, you burned the toast," Tom wailed, genuinely upset. "And you smell funny," Lily added, scrunching up her nose. Sienna's eyes welled up with frustrated tears. This was not the simple, anonymous life she'd yearned for. This was utter chaos. Later that morning, after a disastrous attempt at making breakfast, which involved cereal and lukewarm milk, and a frantic, fumbling effort to get the children dressed and out the door for school, they ended up mismatched and late. Sienna finally found a moment of quiet. Jack had already left for work, leaving a sweet note on the fridge. "Love you, hon. Hope you have a great day." Sienna crumpled the note, a fresh wave of despair washing over her. She picked up Linda's phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. Who would she even call? Who would believe her? It was then that a message popped up on the screen, an unknown number. A text. It read, "Is this Linda Parker? This is Sienna Rose. I think we have a problem. A huge problem. Text me back if you're who I think you are." Sienna's heart leaped. Hope, pure and exhilarating, surged through her. Someone else knew. Someone else was as utterly confused and terrified as she was. She quickly typed a reply, her fingers fumbling over the unfamiliar keyboard. "Yes. Oh my God, yes. It's me, Sienna. I'm in your body. This is insane. What is happening?" Across the country, Linda, still trying to navigate the labyrinthine instructions for Sienna's high-tech coffee machine, felt her own phone buzz. A text from an unknown number. She opened it, her eyes widening in recognition as she read the words. "It's really her," she whispered, a strange mixture of terror and relief washing over her. She wasn't alone. They were truly, inexplicably, in each other's lives. The impossible reality of their situation was no longer just a terrifying personal secret, but a shared, undeniable truth. They had switched. And now, they had to figure out what to do. The panic was still there, but now a tiny spark of something else flickered within Linda, a glimmer of curiosity, an urgent need to understand, and perhaps a desperate hope for a solution. The frantic texting between Linda and Sienna had established the undeniable truth of their predicament, but it offered no immediate solutions, only a shared sense of bewildering absurdity. "We have to pretend," Linda typed, her fingers trembling slightly as she held Sienna's ridiculously expensive phone. "We have to act like nothing happened, at least for now. Until we figure this out." Sienna, hunched over Linda's well-worn kitchen table, heartily agreed. "Pretend? Linda, I don't even know how to make toast without setting off an alarm. How am I supposed to be you? And what are you going to do? Walk a red carpet?" The sheer impossibility of it all hung heavy in the air, but the alternative, exposing their bizarre reality to the world, was unthinkable. Linda, in Sienna's body, found herself staring down the barrel of a high-pressure fashion photoshoot for Vogue. Chloe, Sienna's meticulously organized assistant, whisked her from the penthouse to a sprawling studio in downtown LA. The moment she stepped onto the set, a whirlwind of stylists, makeup artists, photographers, and lighting technicians descended upon her. "Sienna, darling. So glad you're here. We're running a little behind." The photographer, a man with a booming voice and a perfectly coiffed beard, gestured towards a dazzling array of designer gowns. Linda felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. She knew how to pick out a sensible outfit for school drop-off, not a couture masterpiece. Just Pose, Chloe whispered urgently as Linda fumbled with a silk dress. You know how to do this. Linda definitely did not know how to do this. The camera flashed, a relentless staccato beat. She tried to recall Sienna's confident, alluring expressions from the talk show, but all she could manage was a stiff smile and an awkward tilt of her head. The photographer frowned. Sienna, sweetie, can we get a little more? Sienna? More fire, less deer in headlights. Linda mentally cursed. She was a suburban mom, for heaven's sake, not a smoldering supermodel. She tried to emulate Sienna's famous walk, a fluid, confident glide, but found herself tripping over her own, Sienna's, impossibly high heels. More hip, darling. Less, hurried grocery run, the photographer called out, exasperated. Linda felt her face flush, heat creeping up her neck. This was going to be a very, very long day. Meanwhile, back in Seattle, Sienna, in Linda's body, was facing her own domestic Everest. Her first challenge, the school run. Mommy, don't forget my lunchbox. Lily chirped, skipping out the door. Sienna stared at the bright pink lunchbox, then at the contents of the refrigerator, her mind a blank. A quick mental search for healthy packed lunch ideas yielded nothing. She ended up stuffing a juice box and a rather sad-looking apple into the box, earning a puzzled look from Lily. Driving was another hurdle. The minivan, usually a smooth, predictable beast for Linda, felt like an alien spacecraft to Sienna. She fumbled with the gear stick, almost backed into the neighbor's trash cans, and took a wrong turn, arriving at school 15 minutes late. Mrs. Parker, is everything all right? The kindly kindergarten teacher asked, a subtle arch to her eyebrow. Sienna, flustered, forced a smile. Just a morning. You know how it is. The teacher nodded, but her gaze lingered a moment too long. The rest of the day was a blur of domestic duties. Laundry. How many cycles did one machine have? Dishes. Why didn't this house have a dishwasher that loaded itself? And cooking dinner. Linda had texted her a simple recipe for spaghetti and meatballs, complete with step-by-step instructions. Sienna, a connoisseur of Michelin-star dining, looked at the recipe as if it were ancient hieroglyphs. Brown the ground beef. What does brown mean? She muttered to herself. She nearly set the kitchen ablaze trying to light the stove, then overcooked the pasta to a mushy oblivion. The meatballs were dense, almost inedible. When Jack arrived home, he found her staring despairingly at the culinary disaster, a faint smell of smoke still lingering in the air. Honey? What happened? Jack asked, peering into the pot. Did you try a new recipe? Sienna, her face smudged with flour, tried to offer a casual shrug. Something like that. I just got a little distracted. Jack, usually quiet and observant, noticed a shift in his wife. Her hair was messier than usual, her movements a little more clumsy, and she had an almost childlike helplessness about her that he found endearing. It's okay, sweetie, he said, gently taking the spoon from her hand. We can just order pizza tonight. Happens to the best of us. He smiled, a genuine, warm smile that made Sienna's heart do a strange little flutter. She wasn't used to such uncomplicated kindness. The next day brought an equally challenging, yet strangely exhilarating, set of experiences for Linda. A press junket for Sienna's new movie. Linda, dressed in a stunning, form-fitting gown, sat on a plush sofa next to Ryan Blake, Sienna's handsome co-star and much-rumored love interest. The room buzzed with reporters, cameras flashing, microphones thrusting towards them. Sienna, tell us about the chemistry between you and Ryan on set, one reporter gushed. Linda froze. Chemistry? With Ryan? She could barely remember her lines from the disastrous photo shoot. Oh, she began, her mind scrambling for something, anything. It was lovely. Like when you finally get the kids to clean their rooms and everything just clicks. Ryan looked at her, a strange, amused expression on his face. The reporters exchanged puzzled glances. Kids' rooms? One whispered. Linda, realizing her gaffe, quickly tried to recover. I mean, like when a script really clicks. Like finding that perfect, comfortable sweater after a long day of, She winced internally. She was talking like a tired mom, not a glamorous actress. She swore she saw Ryan bite back a smile. But what Linda perceived as a gaffe, Ryan found strangely charming. He was used to Sienna's polished, media-trained answers, her carefully constructed persona. This new Sienna was disarmingly honest, a little clumsy, and unexpectedly refreshing. He found himself laughing, genuinely laughing, as she struggled to answer a question about her favorite red carpet designer, eventually blurting out, "Honestly, anything that doesn't pinch after a big meal is a winner in my book." The reporters, after their initial confusion, found her answers oddly relatable, a stark contrast to the usual Hollywood platitudes. Ryan, watching her, felt a flicker of something new, something akin to fascination. Back in Seattle, Sienna was navigating playdate purgatory. Linda had meticulously organized a playdate for Lily with her best friend, Sarah. Sienna, armed with a list of approved snacks and activities, felt utterly overwhelmed. She watched the children with a mixture of awe and terror. They were so boisterous, so uninhibited. She tried to engage them in a game of make-believe, but her attempts at a dramatic, theatrical voice only made Lily giggle. "Mommy, why are you talking so funny?" Lily asked. Sienna, trying to bake cookies from scratch, another item on Linda's to-do list, accidentally used salt instead of sugar. The resulting culinary abomination was promptly spit out by both girls. However, Jack, noticing his wife's recent string of domestic mishaps, found himself more amused than annoyed. "You know, honey," he said one evening, watching Sienna, Linda, wrestle with a stubborn jar lid, her brow furrowed in concentration. "You've been a little different lately. A little more spirited." He smiled gently. "It's nice. Like when we first started dating, and you were always trying new things, even if they didn't quite work out." Sienna looked at him surprised. The quiet, reserved Jack was actually noticing her, finding her attempts endearing. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. It was a genuine, unconditional acceptance, devoid of judgment or expectation. As the days turned into a bewildering week, both Linda and Sienna found themselves slowly, clumsily, settling into their borrowed lives. Linda, despite her initial awkwardness, began to enjoy the glamour, the attention, the sheer luxury of Sienna's world. The feeling of being dressed in exquisite clothing, of having people cater to her every need, was intoxicating. She even managed a few passable poses for the camera, albeit with a faint, almost imperceptible hint of a suburban mom's determination in her eyes. Sienna, meanwhile, was learning the rhythm of a family home. The chaotic mornings, the endless demands of children, the quiet evenings with Jack. It was messy, unpredictable, and utterly exhausting, but it was also real. And in those moments, as she watched Lily and Tom play, or as Jack offered her a comforting hug after a particularly trying day, a new kind of warmth, unfamiliar yet comforting, began to bloom in her heart. They were living each other's lives, and in doing so, they were beginning to discover aspects of themselves and of life itself that they had never known existed. As the initial shock and confusion began to wear off, a new, unexpected layer of humor and genuine emotion began to emerge from their swapped lives. Linda, still navigating the bewildering landscape of Hollywood, found herself inadvertently charming people with her earnestness. During a late-night talk show appearance for Sienna's new rom-com, Linda, in Sienna's Body, was asked about her most extravagant purchase. Instead of rattling off a list of designer bags or exotic vacations, Linda, momentarily forgetting she was Sienna, blurted out, "Oh, definitely that extra-large capacity washing machine. It handles 2 loads at once, a real game-changer for a family of 4. The audience, expecting a tale of diamond-encrusted anything, erupted in surprised laughter. Ryan Blake, sitting beside her, leaned in, a genuine smile playing on his lips. "She's always full of surprises, isn't she?" he quipped, subtly covering for her, a twinkle in his eye. Ryan was increasingly intrigued by this new Sienna. The previous Sienna had been beautiful, intelligent, and fiercely ambitious, but also guarded, always carefully curating her image. This Sienna was different. She asked genuine questions about his day, not just about their upcoming scenes. She listened with an intensity he hadn't seen before. During a script reading, she accidentally spilled coffee on his shirt and then insisted on personally cleaning it, dabbing at the stain with a napkin while apologizing profusely, her concern utterly sincere. He found himself inexplicably drawn to her unpretentious nature, her slightly awkward honesty. He'd catch her staring at a child's drawing in a magazine, a wistful look on her face, or notice her quietly observing a group of studio assistants gossiping, a look of genuine amusement replacing her usual composed demeanor. The media, always hungry for a new angle, began to pick up on Sienna Rose's refreshing authenticity. Headlines shifted from Sienna's red carpet glamour to Sienna Rose, Hollywood's most relatable star. Ryan found himself gravitating towards her more and more, seeking out her company between takes, drawn to her unexpected warmth and disarming lack of artifice. He'd always admired Sienna, but now he was beginning to like her, a deeper, more personal connection forming. He saw past the celebrity facade to the woman underneath, and he found that he liked what he saw. He started to flirt, gently at first, then more overtly, causing Linda to panic internally. Ryan's charm was undeniable, but she was a married woman, in another woman's body, and this was all getting far too complicated. She'd stammer out excuses, blush profusely, and try to redirect his attention, which only seemed to make him more interested. He saw her blushes not as discomfort, but as a charming shyness, refreshing departure from the usual polished flirtations he was used to. Back in Seattle, Sienna, in Linda's body, was discovering a different kind of charm. Jack, usually reserved, was slowly being drawn out of his shell by Linda's new, unpredictable energy. One evening, Sienna, in a fit of frustration over a failed dinner recipe, burnt chicken again, impulsively suggested they order takeout and have a picnic on the living room floor with the kids. Jack, initially surprised, watched with amusement as Linda transformed the living room into a makeshift fort with blankets and pillows, complete with twinkle lights she'd unearthed from a dusty box. He hadn't seen his wife this playful, this spontaneously joyful, in years. He found himself laughing more, engaging in silly games with the children, and looking at Linda with a renewed sense of wonder. He noticed the small things, Sienna, fumbling with the coffee maker every morning, but then leaving him sweet, slightly clumsy notes on the fridge. Her attempts at cooking were often disastrous, but she always tried with such earnest determination. Her once predictable schedule was now punctuated by spontaneous dance parties with the kids or an impromptu decision to spend an afternoon drawing with sidewalk chalk. It felt like they were dating again, like he was rediscovering the woman he fell in love with, but with an added spark of unexpected effervescence. This new Linda was clumsy and endearing, less worried about perfection and more about simply being. Jack found himself anticipating her reactions, enjoying her quirks, and feeling a warmth towards her that rekindled the flame in their marriage. He loved the way she'd playfully stick out her tongue when she couldn't untangle a knot, or the way her eyes would light up when Lily or Tom hugged her tightly. It was a refreshing, almost exhilarating feeling, falling in love with his own wife all over again. For Linda, the allure of Sienna's world was becoming increasingly seductive. She reveled in the feeling of being pampered, of having her hair and makeup done by professionals, of slipping into designer clothes that made her feel elegant and powerful. The constant praise for her performance, even if it was just her accidental authenticity, was a balm to her soul. After years of selfless devotion to her family, the spotlight felt exhilarating. She was no longer just mom, she was, for the first time in a long time, the center of attention, admired and appreciated for her own being. She enjoyed the quiet moments too, sipping expensive coffee on Sienna's balcony, overlooking the city, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't realized she was missing. There was a lightness to being Sienna, a freedom from the domestic grind that was both intoxicating and liberating. She was rediscovering her own desires, her own forgotten dreams, in the guise of another woman's life. Sienna, surprisingly, was experiencing a profound emotional awakening in Linda's life. The first time Lily spontaneously wrapped her arms around her neck, burying her face in Mommy's shoulder and whispering, "I love you," Sienna felt a jolt of emotion so intense it brought tears to her eyes. She'd never experienced such uncomplicated affection, such pure, unadulterated love. She found herself cherishing the sticky hugs, the crayon drawings, the bedtime stories. The children's laughter, once a foreign sound, now filled her with a profound sense of belonging. She was learning to appreciate the simple rhythm of a family, the quiet comfort of a shared meal, the feeling of her hand being held by a small, trusting one. It was messy, yes, and often chaotic, but it was also filled with an authentic warmth and connection that her own glamorous life had always lacked. She was finding joy in the mundane, a richness in the everyday that she had previously overlooked. The feeling of being mommy was surprisingly fulfilling, a deep, emotional resonance she never expected. Both women were beginning to understand the unspoken truths of each other's existence. Linda, who had always viewed Sienna's life as effortlessly glamorous, now realized the immense pressure, the constant scrutiny, the relentless demands of being a public figure. It wasn't just about beautiful clothes and adoring fans. It was a job, a demanding and often lonely one. Sienna, who had once dismissed Linda's life as simple and easy, now understood the unending demands of motherhood, the invisible labor of running a household, the profound emotional investment in a family. There was no easy life, only different kinds of challenges, different kinds of love, and different kinds of pressures. And then, the first seeds of conflict began to sprout. Each woman, having tasted the forbidden fruit of the other's life, found themselves developing a dangerous fondness for their temporary reality. Linda, basking in the glow of the spotlight and the attention of Ryan Blake, started to wonder if she could ever go back to her quiet suburban existence. Sienna, finding unexpected comfort and genuine love in Linda's family, felt a pang of longing for a life she'd never known. The thought of switching back, of returning to their original, less complicated lives, was beginning to feel less like a desired solution and more like a looming threat. The lines between their identities were blurring, and a silent, unspoken question began to form in both their minds. What if they didn't want to switch back? What if they preferred the life they were currently living? The humor was still there, the emotions still fresh, but now a subtle tension began to build, a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface of their borrowed lives. The initial charm and unexpected emotional connections had painted a deceptively rosy picture, but as days turned into weeks, the cracks in their masquerade began to show. The delicate balance Linda and Sienna had precariously maintained started to crumble under the weight of escalating complications and the sheer difficulty of pretending to be someone they fundamentally were not. The universe, it seemed, was growing tired of their charade. Linda, in Sienna's body, was facing a truly daunting challenge on the set of her new movie. The director, after witnessing her surprising turn towards authentic performances, had decided to give her a pivotal dramatic scene. It was a complex, emotionally charged moment where Sienna's character had to break down, revealing years of pent-up grief. Linda, a suburban mom whose biggest emotional challenge lately had been getting her kids to eat their vegetables, was utterly out of her depth. She tried to channel Sienna's raw emotion, but her attempts felt forced, almost comical. She'd try to cry, but only managed a pained grimace. She'd try to convey sorrow, but it came across as mild discomfort. "Cut," the director bellowed, his voice laced with frustration. "Sienna, what is going on? That was flat. You're usually so good at this. Are you feeling okay? You seem detached." The crew exchanged worried glances. Whispers started circulating. "Is she not sleeping? She's been acting strange for weeks. Did you hear she's been skipping her personal training sessions?" Chloe, Sienna's assistant, approached Linda with a worried frown. "Sienna, are you taking something? You've been so inconsistent. One day you're brilliant, the next, it's like you've forgotten how to act." Linda felt a cold dread wash over her. The rumor mill was churning, and she, Linda Parker, was inadvertently ruining Sienna Rose's career. The pressure was immense, suffocating. She couldn't act her way out of a paper bag, let alone a complex dramatic scene, and the crew's suspicious glances felt like daggers. Meanwhile, Sienna, in Linda's body, was facing her own brand of public scrutiny. A school email landed in her inbox, politely requesting Mrs. Parker's attendance at an urgent parent-teacher conference for Lily. Sienna, who usually had her assistant handle all her scheduling and public appearances, felt a surge of panic. A parent-teacher conference? What did that even entail? She arrived at the school, dressed in an outfit Linda typically wore, a comfortable but slightly frumpy sweater and jeans, and sat nervously across from Lily's earnest-looking teacher. Mrs. Parker, the teacher began gently, we're a little concerned about Lily's recent behavior. She's been a bit withdrawn, and her grades have slipped slightly. She mentioned feeling like mommy isn't mommy anymore. Sienna's heart sank. She tried to put on a concerned parent face, but inside, she was screaming. Oh, well, you know how children are, Sienna stammered, trying to sound knowledgeable. They have their phases. Perhaps she needs a new challenge? Perhaps a more rigorous academic program. The teacher blinked, clearly taken aback. A rigorous. Lily is 8, Mrs. Parker. We're talking about her art class participation and her social interactions. Sienna, completely out of her depth, dug herself deeper. Perhaps she needs more exposure to abstract expressionism? Or perhaps a solo exhibition of her own work. I can call my contacts at the LACMA. The teacher stared, utterly bewildered. Mrs. Parker, are you feeling all right? She finally asked, her gaze lingering suspiciously. Sienna had no idea how to explain that she was a world-famous actress trying to discuss the emotional well-being of an 8-year-old girl she'd only known for a few weeks. She left the meeting feeling like a complete failure, having likely convinced Lily's teacher that Mrs. Parker had lost her mind. The situation escalated dramatically when a notorious paparazzi, known for his relentless pursuit of Sienna Rose, somehow tracked Linda to her suburban home. Sienna, in Linda's body, was just about to hang laundry when she saw the unmistakable glint of a camera lens from behind a bush. Her celebrity instincts kicked in immediately. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, she muttered, dropping a basket of clean clothes. She darted inside, slamming the door, her mind racing. How did they find her here? This was Linda's quiet, anonymous neighborhood. The thought of her face, Linda's face, splashed across tabloids, caught in a moment of suburban disarray, filled her with a new kind of dread. She knew the media circus, the invasive questions, the endless speculation. She called Linda, her voice tight with panic. Linda, you won't believe this, but I have a paparazzi in your bushes. Your bushes? What do I do? Linda, on the other end, groaned. A paparazzi? Here? Oh God, Sienna, just act natural. Whatever that means. The media, already buzzing with Sienna Rose's unusual behavior, now had fresh fuel for the fire. Sienna Rose, suburban spree, read one online headline, accompanied by a blurry, long-lens photo of Linda Sienna frantically pulling laundry off the line. Another speculated, is Sienna hiding a secret life? The narrative was rapidly spinning out of control. Linda's accidental authenticity was now being interpreted as erratic, unpredictable, and potentially concerning. Sienna's struggles with domesticity were seen as bizarre celebrity antics. Both women were creating a public relations nightmare, and neither had the tools to fix it. The biggest crisis, however, hit closer to home for Sienna. Jack Parker, observant and quietly intuitive, had started to notice increasingly puzzling behavior from his wife. He loved her new playfulness, her unexpected spontaneity, but there were moments that just didn't add up. One evening, he walked into the kitchen to find Linda Sienna on the phone, speaking in a low, intense voice. No, Chloe, I told you, push back the Vogue cover. I have to be here for Lily's school play. My family needs me. Her tone was authoritative, crisp, and utterly professional, a voice he had never heard Linda use. He saw her pacing, gesturing with her hands, her expression one of focused intensity. When she noticed him, she quickly slammed the phone shut, her face flushing. Oh, Jack. Just talking to Sarah about the PDA bake sale. She's so pushy. Jack, though he nodded, felt a growing knot of suspicion in his stomach. The sophisticated vocabulary, the firm tone, the mention of Vogue before she caught herself, it all seemed too out of character for his gentle, unassuming Linda. He began to wonder if his wife was hiding something far more significant than a burned dinner. The culmination of these mounting disasters led to a furious, whispered argument over the phone between Linda and Sienna. "You almost got me busted for drug use on set," Linda hissed into the phone, holed up in Sienna's luxurious bathroom. "I can't act, Sienna. I'm a mom, not Meryl Streep." Sienna, on the other end, equally agitated, retorted, "And you led the paparazzi to your house. And I almost told Lily's teacher to put her in an art gallery. My life is a mess because of you, Linda. Your kids think I'm a crazy person, and Jack is starting to look at me like I'm an alien." The playful curiosity they had initially felt had evaporated, replaced by genuine frustration and a mounting sense of desperation. Their swapped lives, once a source of amusement and discovery, were now spiraling into a chaotic mess, threatening to unravel not just their own identities, but the lives of everyone around them. They had both, in their own ways, ruined aspects of each other's carefully constructed worlds, and the thought of trying to fix it felt utterly overwhelming. The honeymoon period was over, and the harsh realities of their forced existence were catching up with them, threatening to expose their extraordinary secret to a very confused world. The furious phone argument, born from frustration and fear, was a turning point. After hanging up, both Linda and Sienna spent a long, silent hour contemplating the wreckage they had created in each other's lives. The undeniable truth was stark: they couldn't continue like this. Their individual attempts to navigate the other's world had only resulted in chaos and suspicion. A new strategy was desperately needed. It was Linda who finally broke the silence, sending a text to Sienna: "We're doing this all wrong. We have to work together. You teach me, I teach you." Sienna, reading the message while staring at a mountain of unwashed dishes, sighed in relief. Cooperation. It was their only hope. Their first training session happened over a video call, late at night, when both their respective worlds were finally asleep. Linda, still dressed in one of Sienna's silky nightgowns, looked exhausted but determined. Sienna, in Linda's faded pajamas, looked equally harried. "Okay, let's start with the basics," Linda began, her voice firm. "Sienna, you need to learn how to cook at least 3 simple, edible meals. Spaghetti, scrambled eggs, and something with chicken. Jack loves my lemon herb chicken." Sienna rolled her eyes, but nodded. "Fine. But you have to teach me about acting and how to answer ridiculous interview questions without mentioning laundry." Over the next few days, their lives became a series of covert lessons and desperate attempts to apply them. Linda would text Sienna step-by-step instructions for preparing dinner, complete with photos of chopped vegetables and simmering sauces. "Remember, don't stir constantly, let the sauce develop," she'd type. Sienna, hunched over the kitchen counter, phone propped against a cookbook, would meticulously follow each direction. Her first attempts were still far from perfect. The spaghetti was al dente, but the sauce was too salty. The scrambled eggs were edible, but still a little rubbery, but they were no longer culinary disasters. Lily and Tom, surprisingly, began to appreciate Mommy's new adventurous spirit in the kitchen. "Mommy, this tastes different," Lily said, trying a bite of Sienna's carefully prepared chicken, "but it's good." Sienna felt a small, unfamiliar thrill of accomplishment. Sienna, in turn, began to coach Linda on the nuances of Hollywood. "Confidence, Linda. It's all about owning the space," Sienna instructed during one call, demonstrating various confident postures. "When you walk onto set, shoulders back, chin up. Imagine you're walking onto a red carpet, not into a PTA meeting." She taught Linda vocal exercises to control her voice, how to project, how to add emotional depth to a line reading. "Don't just say the words, feel them. Remember a time you were truly happy or truly sad, and let that emotion guide you." Linda, initially skeptical, found herself surprisingly receptive. Sienna even gave her a crash course in using her personal charisma. "You have a natural warmth, Linda. Use it." Make eye contact, smile, and make people feel like you're truly listening. It's more powerful than any rehearsed line. The results were slow, but noticeable. Linda, armed with Sienna's guidance, started to surprise the film crew. During a particularly challenging scene, where her character had to deliver a heartfelt monologue, Linda remembered Sienna's advice: connect with something real. She thought of Lily and Tom, of Jack, of her own longing for connection, and suddenly, the words flowed with genuine emotion. The director called cut, but this time, his voice was filled with awe. "Sienna, that was incredible. Where did that come from?" Linda, breathless, just smiled, a flicker of Sienna's confident sparkle in her eyes. Even Ryan Blake looked at her with renewed admiration, seeing a depth he hadn't fully recognized before. She was still Linda, but she was learning to embody Sienna, to channel her strength and grace, blending it with her own innate sincerity. Sienna, meanwhile, was slowly winning over Linda's family. With Linda's culinary tips, dinners became less of a gamble. She learned to help Lily with her homework, even if it meant secretly Googling third-grade math problems. She discovered the joy of reading bedtime stories, adopting different voices for each character, much to Tom's delight. Jack, no longer suspicious, found himself increasingly charmed by Linda's newfound zest for life. She was still a little clumsy, a little unpredictable, but her efforts were genuine, and her growing connection with the children was undeniable. One rainy afternoon, Sienna, watching Lily and Tom play a board game, felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. It was a feeling she'd never experienced in her own high-octane life, the quiet, unassuming joy of a family. Through these shared efforts, a deeper understanding, almost a sisterhood, began to form between the two women. They were no longer just two individuals trapped in an impossible situation, but collaborators, confidants, sharing the intimate details of their respective worlds. Linda realized that Sienna's glamorous life wasn't just about fame. It was a constant performance, a relentless demand for perfection that left little room for genuine vulnerability. She saw the immense pressure Sienna carried, the loneliness that often came with being adored by millions, but truly known by few. The designer clothes and lavish parties were a beautiful cage, trapping Sienna in a cycle of endless expectation. Sienna, conversely, gained a profound appreciation for the invisible labor and emotional depth of Linda's life. She saw that being a mere housewife was an all-encompassing, 24-hour job, filled with constant demands, emotional giving, and often thankless tasks. She understood the deep, abiding love Linda had for her family, a love that transcended the mundane. She realized that the simple life Linda led was rich with authentic connection, with the tangible joys of nurturing and creating a home. There was a quiet heroism in Linda's daily life that Sienna had never truly comprehended. She saw that every life, no matter how outwardly glamorous or seemingly ordinary, came with its own unique set of pressures, its own struggles, and its own profound joys. The walls they had built around their perceptions of each other began to crumble. They recognized the strength in each other, the resilience, the hidden talents. Linda admired Sienna's tenacity and professionalism, her ability to command a room. Sienna respected Linda's unwavering patience and boundless love. They began to see beyond the superficial roles, recognizing the shared humanity beneath. The initial rivalry and frustration had morphed into empathy and genuine respect. They were still in a bewildering predicament, but now they were facing it together, armed with a newfound understanding of themselves and the extraordinary lives they were temporarily inhabiting. The cooperative spirit had not only helped them survive, but had inadvertently fostered a deep, unexpected bond, making them unlikely friends from two very different worlds. The fragile peace and newfound understanding between Linda and Sienna were about to be shattered. Just as they felt they were finally gaining a modicum of control over their swapped lives, the universe conspired to pull the rug out from under them, bringing all their carefully concealed secrets to the precipice of public exposure. The stakes were higher than ever, and the impending chaos threatened to engulf everyone in their orbit. Linda, still living as Sienna Rose, had been scheduled for a whirlwind trip to New York for a special screening of her latest film. Ryan Blake, her co-star, was naturally by her side, his affection for this new Sienna growing with each passing day. He saw her not as the untouchable star, but as a genuine, vulnerable, and incredibly charming woman. The subtle signals she'd given off, misinterpreted by him as shyness or playing hard to get, had only fueled his attraction. During a break from a red carpet event, with the dazzling lights of Times Square illuminating them, Ryan took her aside, his eyes earnest. "Sienna," he began, his voice low and sincere, "I know we've always had this media crush thing, but with you lately, it feels different. It feels real." He reached out, gently taking her hand. "I'm falling for you, Sienna. The real you. Would you consider being more than just co-stars?" Linda's heart leaped into her throat, a sickening mix of flattered warmth and utter terror. Ryan Blake, a man millions swooned over, was confessing his feelings to her. Her, Linda Parker, a married mother of two. Her mind raced, a frantic kaleidoscope of Jack's face, Lily and Tom's innocent smiles, and the crushing weight of her secret. "Ryan, I can't," she stammered, pulling her hand away gently, her face flushing crimson. It's complicated. You don't understand." Ryan, mistaking her panic for a celebrity playing coy, pressed on, a hopeful smile on his face. "I think I do. You're different, Sienna, and I love it. Give me a chance." The conversation was cut short by Chloe, pulling Sienna away for another interview, leaving Linda in a state of utter disarray. Ryan's heartfelt confession had not only complicated her emotional landscape, but also set the stage for a spectacular misunderstanding that would soon explode across the tabloids. Just hours later, as Sienna, boarded her private jet back to LA, she was shocked to see a familiar face waiting for her inside the terminal lounge. Jack. Her real Jack. He had somehow managed to take an emergency flight, spurred by his nagging suspicions and an overwhelming desire to understand Linda's erratic behavior. He saw Linda, from across the lounge, looking impossibly glamorous yet strangely distressed. He approached her, his face a mixture of worry and relief. "Linda," he whispered tentatively, using Sienna's actual name. He had pieced together fragmented phone calls and strange behavior, and a terrifying, impossible theory had begun to form in his logical, IT-trained mind. "It's you, isn't it? The real Linda." Linda, seeing her husband's familiar, loving face, felt an overwhelming urge to confess everything. Tears welled in her eyes. "Oh, Jack," she choked out, rushing into his arms. The embrace was desperate, loaded with months of unspoken longing and the terrifying weight of their secret. It was in that exact moment, just as Linda and Jack held each other in a deeply emotional embrace, that a notorious paparazzi, tipped off about Sienna Rose's travel plans, appeared seemingly out of nowhere. His camera flashed, capturing the stunning image, Sienna Rose, Hollywood's reigning queen, locked in a passionate embrace with an unknown man, clearly not Ryan Blake. The photos, stark and undeniable, hit the wire almost instantly. "Sienna Rose caught in secret affair," screamed the headlines. "Ryan Blake betrayed?" The truth about Hollywood's it couple. The internet exploded. Social media was awash with speculation, outrage, and theories. Back in Seattle, Sienna, in Linda's body, saw the news unfold on her, Linda's, phone. The image of Linda, in Sienna's body, embracing Jack, was everywhere. She gasped, dropping the phone. "Oh no," she whispered, her heart sinking. Not only was Linda's public image being tarnished, but Jack's face, usually so private, was now plastered across gossip sites. The family she had come to love was being dragged into her Hollywood nightmare. Lily, sensing her mommy's distress, wandered in. "Mommy, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" Sienna could only hug her tightly, the weight of the impending disaster pressing down on her. The next day, the fallout was catastrophic. Jack, already struggling with his wife's strange behavior, was blindsided by the scandalous headlines. His phone rang nonstop, filled with calls from worried friends and judgmental relatives. "Jack, is that really Linda? "What's going on?" they asked. He tried to explain, to deny, but the evidence was staring everyone in the face. His quiet, stable family life was suddenly under a blinding, unwelcome spotlight. The children, exposed to hushed conversations and worried glances, began to sense the deep unease. "Mommy, why are people saying you're on TV with a different daddy?" Lily tearfully asked Sienna, holding up a newspaper with the scandalous photo. Sienna, unable to explain, felt a profound sense of guilt. This wasn't her mess alone anymore. It was now irrevocably impacting Linda's innocent family. As if on cue, a celestial phenomenon once again graced the night sky. A brilliant shower of meteors, eerily similar to the one that had initiated their body swap, began to blaze across the heavens, visible simultaneously in Seattle and Los Angeles. It was brighter, more intense than the first time. This time, however, both Linda and Sienna knew exactly what it meant. It was a cosmic alarm clock, signaling that their time was running out. The universe was offering them a chance to switch back, but only after they confronted the tangled web of lies, misunderstandings, and emotional chaos they had unwittingly woven. Linda, seeing the meteor shower from her penthouse balcony, felt a surge of fear mixed with a strange sense of resignation. Sienna, watching from Linda's backyard, felt a wave of bittersweet longing. They had to switch back. But before they could, they had to somehow untangle the mess they had created. The romantic misunderstanding with Ryan, the public scandal involving Jack, the confusion of Linda's children, the suspicious glances from film crews and teachers. It all converged into an overwhelming storm that threatened to expose their impossible secret to the entire world. The climax was here, and the two women, from their separate, chaotic worlds, knew that the moment of truth, the moment of reckoning, had finally arrived. Their borrowed lives were about to come crashing down. The recurring meteor shower, a celestial hourglass, left Linda and Sienna with an urgent, undeniable imperative. They had to switch back. But first, they had to clean up the monumental mess they had made. A frantic, tearful video call ensued, full of rapid-fire plans and desperate apologies. Linda, now fully committed to returning to her own life, explained the Ryan situation and the paparazzi scandal to Sienna, who gasped in horror. "We have to fix this, Linda. For Jack, for the kids, for my entire career." Sienna, equally determined, revealed the extent of the confusion at home and Jack's growing suspicions. They agreed on a desperate, two-pronged approach. Linda, in Sienna's body, first arranged a private, urgent meeting with Ryan Blake. Her heart ached as she saw the hopeful light in his eyes. "Ryan," she began, choosing her words carefully, "I need to tell you something. You're an incredible man, and I value your friendship and talent more than words can say. But I can't be with you. There's someone else, someone I've loved for a very long time. And I owe him my honesty, and you deserve nothing less." Ryan, though visibly hurt, recognized the genuine sincerity in Sienna's eyes. He nodded slowly, a touch of sadness mixed with understanding. "I get it, Sienna. I truly do. Just promise me you'll be happy." He was disappointed, but the honesty was refreshing, a stark contrast to the usual Hollywood games. Next, with Chloe's bewildered assistance, Linda, as Sienna, called a last-minute press conference. Stepping onto the podium, dressed impeccably but with a newfound, earnest vulnerability, Linda took a deep breath. "I know there have been many rumors recently," she began, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. "And I owe my fans, and the people I care about, an explanation." She carefully crafted a narrative, a blend of truth and necessary fiction. "I've been going through a profound personal journey of self-discovery, reconnecting with my roots, and realizing what truly matters. I've been spending time away from the spotlight, rediscovering my priorities, which include a very important man in my life who has always been there for me. The photos you saw were of me embracing him, a husband I deeply cherish. Our relationship has been through its challenges, but it's stronger than ever, and I am committed to him and my family." The reporters were stunned. The spin was brilliant, heartfelt, and just vague enough to quell the scandal without revealing the impossible truth. Jack, watching from home, felt a wave of relief, though his confusion still lingered. Meanwhile, Sienna, in Linda's body, faced her own crucial confrontation. She gathered Lily and Tom, her heart heavy. "Kids," she said, her voice soft, "Mommy's been a little different lately, hasn't she?" Lily nodded, wide-eyed. "You burned the toast, and you talked funny," Tom chimed in. Sienna smiled gently. "I know. Mommy's been going through something big, a bit of a journey. But everything is going to be okay. I love you both very, very much." That evening, with the meteor shower once again lighting up the sky, Sienna, with Jack by her side, finally confessed. "Jack," she began, taking his hand, "what I'm about to tell you, it's going to sound completely unbelievable. But please, just listen." She recounted the entire bizarre tale, from the meteor shower to the body swap, her voice filled with a desperate plea for him to understand. Jack, an IT professional accustomed to logic and data, listened, his expression moving from disbelief to shock, then slowly, incredibly, to a profound, unsettling understanding. He remembered the strange phone call, the impossible competence one minute and charming clumsiness the next. It was crazy, but it explained everything. He looked at the woman he loved, truly seeing her, and then at the shimmering green streaks in the sky. With their respective crises partially contained, Linda and Sienna agreed to meet at the exact spots where they had seen the meteor shower that first night. Linda on Sienna's penthouse balcony overlooking the LA skyline. Sienna in Linda's suburban backyard in Seattle. As the emerald streaks blazed across the sky with mesmerizing intensity, both women closed their eyes, whispered a silent, fervent prayer to be returned to their own lives, to their own bodies. A brilliant flash of light enveloped them, a dizzying sensation, a momentary disorientation, and then silence. Linda opened her eyes. The scent of her own lavender-scented sheets, the familiar creak of her own bed. She looked down at her hands, smaller, a little softer, with slightly chipped nail polish. She ran to the mirror. Her face. Her own, tired but beloved face, with the faint lines she knew so well. "Jack," she cried, rushing to her husband, who stirred, sleepily opening his eyes. He looked at her, truly seeing her, his Linda. "Linda? You're back." He pulled her into a tight embrace, a hug filled with weeks of worry, confusion, and profound relief. Sienna, meanwhile, awoke in her own silk-sheeted bed, in her opulent penthouse. She ran to the mirror, touching her perfectly sculpted face, her dark, glossy hair. Her body. Her own toned, celebrity body. A wave of mixed emotions washed over her. Relief, yes, but also a strange pang of loss. She felt lighter, less burdened by the pressure of perfection, yet she missed the warmth of Lily and Tom's hugs. She missed the uncomplicated kindness of Jack. The switch had reversed. But neither woman was the same. Linda returned to her suburban life, to her beloved family. But she was no longer the slightly rumpled mom who had forgotten herself. The taste of the spotlight had ignited a spark within her. She started taking evening art classes, reigniting her passion for pottery, even displaying her work at a local craft fair. She dressed with more confidence, paid more attention to herself, and spoke up more often, her voice now carrying a subtle, newfound authority. She had learned to appreciate the simple joys of her family life even more, but also to reclaim her own identity within it. Jack, seeing the vibrant new Linda, found their marriage revitalized. They laughed more, communicated better, and rediscovered the deep, enduring love that had been temporarily obscured. Their relationship was hotter, more passionate, fueled by the rediscovery of each other and the profound appreciation of what they almost lost. Sienna returned to Hollywood, to her dazzling career. But the incessant demands and superficiality no longer held the same power over her. She carried with her the quiet wisdom of Linda's life, the profound appreciation for genuine connection and unconditional love. She made subtle changes, taking more time for herself, setting boundaries with her demanding schedule, choosing roles that spoke to her heart rather than just her public image. She even started volunteering at a children's charity, finding a deep fulfillment in nurturing others. She extended an olive branch to Ryan, explaining her personal journey in more detail, without revealing the switch, of course. Ryan, seeing her renewed sense of peace and groundedness, found himself falling for the Sienna, the one who was both a star and deeply, authentically human. They began to date, slowly, genuinely, building a relationship based on mutual respect and a deeper understanding. The final scene sees Linda and Sienna meeting for coffee, Linda in a stylish, comfortable outfit, Sienna in a chic but understated ensemble. They hugged, a warm, genuine embrace, two women from vastly different worlds who had shared an impossible secret and emerged transformed. "So," Linda said, a mischievous twinkle in her eye, "did you ever figure out how to make those lemon herb chicken?" Sienna laughed, a rich, full sound. "Let's just say my personal chef is very confused by my sudden interest in suburban cooking. And you? Still charming the paparazzi?" Linda grinned. "Only if they promise to keep my kids out of it." They exchanged knowing glances, a shared understanding passing between them. Two women, who had once wished for each other's lives, had been given their wish and, in doing so, had helped each other find something far more valuable, their true selves. They remained in touch, an unlikely, cherished friendship forged in the fires of a cosmic body swap, forever bound by the extraordinary adventure that had allowed them to truly switch spotlights and illuminate the hidden depths of their own hearts.